Good morning, football fans. Big Al here on this election day, Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. I hope you get out there and vote today if you haven't already. Welcome to another edition of the week that was, as we take a look at the team statistical numbers from week 9 in the National Football League. We'll also update the NFL standings, and I'll unveil my week 10 power rankings at the end, so stick around for all of that. There were 13 games on the schedule. That's it. And we're going to start off, as always, with Thursday night football with the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles visiting the Space City to face the Houston Texans. The Eagles were ranked number 2 in my weekend power rankings, while the Texans were 32nd. It looked a bit iffy at first, but the Eagles ultimately soared to 8-0 with a 29-17 win. Philly ran 58 offensive plays, 27 passes, 31 runs. The Texans ran 54 plays, 22 passes, and 32 runs. Philadelphia outgained Houston 360-303. They also outgained the Texans through the air 217-135. But the ground game for the Texans was working on Thursday night. Houston outrushed Philadelphia 168-143. The Eagles had 24 first downs, which gives them 188 on the season. The Texans had 20, which puts them up to 134. Philly finished 5 of 10 on third down for 50%. They're now 50 for 109 for 45.9%. And a perfect 2 out of 2 on fourth down, putting them 12 for 16 on the season at 75%. Houston was 2 for 9 on third down for 22.2%. And 32 for 103 on the season, which is 31.1%. And no fourth down attempts for the Texans. They stayed 5 of 10 for 50%. Both teams were penalized 4 times. The Eagles had 31 yards on their 4 penalties. That gives them 43 on the season for 324. The Texans had 28 yards on their 4 penalties, which brings them up to 43 as well for 338 yards. Time of possession favored Houston, 31 minutes and 47 seconds to 28 minutes and 13 seconds for the Eagles. Defensively, the Eagles had 41 tackles, 19 solo tackles. They now have 338 total tackles and 173 solo tackles. They would sack Davis Mills 3 times, bringing their sack total to 25. No fumbles in the game by the Eagles defense, so they remain at 8. 3 passes defended in the game brings them to 48. They added 2 more interceptions, bringing their total to 12 with 1 defensive touchdown. The Houston Texans defense had 49 tackles, 30 solo. On the season, 386 and 199. They sacked Jalen Hurts, Houston native, 4 times, bringing their total to 20. They forced 2 fumbles in this game, numbers 5 and 6 on the year. And only 1 pass defensed in the game. That's their 33rd. No interceptions or touchdowns keeps them at 7 INTs. Closing line was Philadelphia minus 14. The over-under was 45 points. I picked the Eagles to win and cover. Philly gets the straight-up win, but Houston covers as the home underdog, losing by only 12. So I end up winning the straight up pick and losing the ATS. So I'm 1-0 straight up and 0-1 against the spread. Now to the Sunday afternoon schedule. We got the Buffalo Bills at the New York Jets. Buffalo was my number 1 team going into week number 9. The Jets were ranked number 13. And it's the New York Jets who come out on top in this one, upsetting the Bills 20-17. And just like the Eagles-Texans game, this game saw the same amount of plays from both teams. 56 total plays from the Bills, 34 passes, 22 runs. 59 plays from the Jets, 25 passes, and 34 runs. All right, so Buffalo outgained the Jets, not by a lot, though, 317 to 310. Passing yards were a favor to the Bills, 183 to 136. The Jets outgained the Bills on the ground, however, 174 to 134. New York had 21 first downs to Buffalo's 19, so this gives the Jets 165 first downs through 9 games, and the Bills 185 through 8. Buffalo finished 8 of 13 on third down, 61.5%. On the season, they're 48 of 92 for 52.2%. And 0 for 1 on fourth down, making them 6 for 11 on the season for 54.5%. So they are a collective 54 for 103 in late down situations this year through 8 games. The Jets were 5 of 13 on third downs for 38.5%, 42 of 125 on the year for 33.6%. And a perfect 2 for 2 on fourth down, making them 7 of 13 on the season at 53.8%. This is one of 2 games that had the fewest combined penalties in the NFL, 6 in total, as both teams had 3 penalties for 30 yards apiece. Buffalo now has 43 penalties for 295 yards, or 295 yards. The Jets now have 55 penalties for 597. Time of possession favored the Jets, 32 minutes, 44 seconds versus 27 minutes and 16 seconds for the Buffalo Bills. All right, the Bills defense, 37 tackles, none solo, so they're at 343 total tackles and 163 solo through 8 games. They recorded 2 sacks on Zach Wilson, that's 22 and 23 on the season. They forced their first fumble of the year, and it only took them 9 weeks to do it. 9 weeks and 8 games, in fact. So that's their first forced fumble of 2022. They had 1 pass defensed in this game. That's their 43rd. No interceptions or touchdowns. They remain with 11 INTs and 1 scored. As for the Jets, 35 tackles, 14 solo. They now have 384 tackles and 170 solo. How about 5 sacks on Josh Allen? That gives New York 26 sacks on the season. They forced 2 fumbles, numbers 7 and 8, and 6 passes defended brings them to 49. So this defense was pretty busy on Sunday. Speaking of which, they had 2 more interceptions, which also gives them 11 with 1 defensive touchdown. Oh, by the way, point spreads and over-under totals are courtesy of the Sports Alerts app. I forgot to mention that at the top, but there you go. All right, closing line in this game was Buffalo minus 10.5. Over-under was 45.5. I did pick the Bills to win and the Jets to cover. So I ended up getting Well, I ended up losing the straight up pick and winning the ATS pick. So I'm 1-1 in both areas. Now to the Cincinnati Bengals hosting the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers came in number 30 in my Week 9 power rankings, while the Bengals were number 15. And boy, what a day for Joe Mixon, the running back of the Cincinnati Bengals. "22 carries for 153 yards. He also added 4 receptions for 58 yards on 5 targets, with 5 total touchdowns, 4 of those on the ground and 1 receiving. He set the Cincinnati Bengals single game record for touchdowns in a game. And this game was pretty much over before it began. Cincinnati led 35-0 at halftime. They cruised to a 42-21 win over the hapless Panthers. Carolina ran 48 plays, 30 passes, 18 runs. Cincinnati ran 70 plays, 31 passes, and 39 runs. The Bengals outgained the Panthers at more than a 2-1 clip, 464 to 228. Passing yards favored Cincinnati as well, 223 to 164. Rushing yards, big advantage to the Bengals, 241 to 64. And the Bengals ran at about a 6.2 yards per rush clip. Cincinnati had more than double the first downs as the Panthers, 30 for the Bengals, 13 for the Carolina Panthers. So Cincinnati now has 202 first downs through 9 games, while the Panthers have just 129, which right now would be the second fewest in the NFL. Carolina finished 2 of 8 on third down for 25%. On the year, they're now 28 for 105 for 26.7%, worst mark in the NFL on third down. They converted another fourth down, however. They're now 7 of 13 in that department at 53.8%. The Bengals were very good on third down, 6 out of 10 for 60 yards. They're now 56 of 109 for 51.4%. And no fourth down plays for Zach Brown's Bengals. So for Zach Taylor's Bengals, rather. They remain 2 for 9 on the year at 22.2%. The Panthers had 7 penalties for 50 yards. They now have 50 total penalties for 452. Sorry. While the Bengals have 5 penalties for 35 yards and 41 total flags for 274. Time of possession favors Cincinnati, 39 minutes and 21 seconds versus 20 minutes and 39 seconds for the Panthers. So near 2-1 edge there in time of possession, and this puts the Bengals in ball hawk territory. Anyone new to the channel, a ball hawk is a team that possesses the ball for at least 35 minutes in a game, win or lose. Now looking at the defenses in this game, the Carolina defense, 54 tackles, 23 solo. Respective totals are 411 total, 165 solo. They managed to sack Joe Burrow twice, numbers 13 and 14 in the sack department for the Panthers. 1 fumble forced, that's their 5th. 3 passes defended, which is 33. No interceptions or touchdowns. So they stay at 6 INTs and 3 scores. As for the Bengals, 26 tackles, all assisted on, no solo tackles. So 358 total tackles and 156 solo through 9 games. No sacks in this game for Cincinnati. They stay at 17. They also forced the fumble in this game, their 7th, and 4 passes defended brings their total to 35. They added 2 more INTs, which brings their season total to 8 with no defensive touchdowns. Oh, by the way, the Panthers have 14 sacks on the year, not 16. Oops. Here we go. Closing line was Cincinnati -7, over under 42.5. I picked the Bengals to win both straight up and against the spread, so I got both picks correct there. So that makes me 2-1 in both areas. Next up, we got the Green Bay Packers playing yet another get-right game. Squaring off with the division rival Detroit Lions at Ford Field. Green Bay came into Week 9 ranked number 19 in the power rankings. The Lions were 27. The Lions' offense was not as explosive as we've seen in recent weeks, but they did just enough to take down Aaron Rodgers and the struggling Pack 15-9. So for Green Bay, that's 5 losses in a row. It's their first 5-game losing streak since Aaron Rodgers' rookie campaign back in 2008. The Packers ran 50. Oh, that's the wrong page. Here we go. The Packers ran 68 offensive plays, 43 passes, 25 runs, while the Lions ran 57 offensive plays, 26 passes, and 31 runs. Not a lot of offense yards-wise in this game. 309 yards for the Packers to 254 for the Lions. Passing yards were more than a 2-1 edge to Green Bay, 283 to 137. The Lions slightly outgained the Packers running the ball, 117 to 106. Both teams at 19 first downs. So 178 total in 9 games for the Packers, 166 in 8 games for the Lions. Green Bay finished 8 of 15 for 53.3% on third down. They are now 42 of 106 for 39.6%. And not too good on fourth down. 1 for 4 for 25%. 3 for 15 on the year for 20%. The Lions were 6 of 11 on third down, 54.5%. And on the year, they're 37 of 94 for 39.4%. And they weren't good on fourth down either. They were 0 for 2. And on the season, they're 9 for 22 for 40.9%. A lot of penalties in this game. 8 for the Packers for 81 yards. They now have 56 for 427. 7 for 62 yards for Detroit. Now 51 penalties for 421. Time of possession is 34 minutes and 42 seconds for the Green Bay Packers, nearly putting them in ball hawk territory, versus 25 minutes and 18 seconds for the Lions. All right, the Packers defense, 37 tackles, 11 solo. They now have 371 tackles, 179 solo through 9 games. No sacks in this game for the Packer D, so they stay at 17. No fumbles forced for the Packer D. They remain at 4. And 4 passes defended brings them to 28. They added another interception, though, their 5th of the year, to go along with their 1 defensive touchdown. The Lion defense had 39 tackles, 1 solo. Yeah, that's right. 1 solo tackle the entire game. 385 total tackles, 214 solo. They sacked Aaron Rodgers once, and that was the only sack of the game on either side. That's Detroit's 12th of the year. They forced 2 fumbles in this game, numbers 7 and 8. And 9 passes defended by the Lions defense puts them up to 25. Okay, the Detroit Lions defense had a grand total of 2 interceptions through 8 weeks. They had 3 on Sunday against the Packers, which brings their season total to 5 with no defensive touchdowns. Closing line is Green Bay minus 3.5, and the over-under is 49.5. I picked the Packers to win and to cover. Obviously, the Lions winning this game straight up and against the spread by 6 points means I lost both picks. So now I am 2-2, both straight up and against the spread. Our next game is the Indianapolis Colts at the New England Patriots. And I think it's time to start taking Bill Belichick's Patriots seriously. The offense didn't perform that well, but their defense and special teams, especially their defense, showed up in a big way as New England wins this one going away 26-3. All right, you had 51 offensive plays for Indianapolis, 29 passes and 22 runs. 58 total plays for New England, 30 passes and 28 runs. And this is the lowest output of yards in a game this season. Only 324 total yards of offense by the two teams. 203 by the Patriots, 121 by the Colts. Passing yards for 133 for New England and 43 for Indianapolis. Rushing yards were 78 for Indianapolis, 70 for New England. And only 19 combined third downs in this game, 11 for the Patriots, 8 for the Colts. Indy now has 170 first downs. New England has 158. Big reason why the Colts lost this game, their play on third down was atrocious. They were 0 for 14 on third down. And now they're 44 of 123 for the year for 35.8%. And 0 for 2 on fourth down, making them 2 for 9 for 22.2%. So collectively in late down situations, the Indianapolis offense were a combined 0 for 16 on third and fourth downs. Not going to win too many games in the NFL with numbers like that. The Patriots went 6 of 17 on third down for 35.3%. They are now 45 for 116 at 38.8. They had no fourth down plays, I should say, in this game. And for the season, they're 2 for 6, 33.3%. This game is also tied for the fewest combined penalties with 6. 4 by the Patriots for 35 yards. They now have 52 for 418. 2 for Indianapolis for 15 yards. 47 total for 387. Time of possession favored the Patriots. 31 minutes, 6 seconds. 28 minutes, 54 seconds for Indy. The Colts defense had 48 tackles, 31 solo. Now 412 total tackles, 211 solo. They did sack Mack Wilson 4 times. So that brings their sack total to 23. They forced a couple fumbles in this game, numbers 5 and 6. They had no passes defended by their defense, so they stay at 25, and no interceptions or touchdowns, so they stay at 4 INTs. As for the Patriot defense, man, they were active. 47 tackles, 21 solo. They now have 375 total tackles and 148 solo. And how about 9 sacks on Sam Ehlinger in this game, bringing their sack total to 31. No fumbles in this game by their defense. They stay at 8. 8 passes defended brings their total to 39. And they had a pick 6 in this game, interception return for a touchdown. So now they have 11 interceptions and 2 defensive touchdowns. Closing line is New England minus 4.5. Over under is 39.5. I picked the Patriots to win and cover, which they did both. So now I'm 3-2 both ways. Next, the Las Vegas Raiders, who were shut out in New Orleans last week, look to get back in the win column against the slumping Jacksonville Jaguars, who came in with a 5-game losing streak. Oh, by the way, in the power rankings, the Colts ranked number 20. The Patriots were... No, the Colts did rank number 20. The Patriots were number 12. As for the Raiders and Jaguars, Vegas was number 21. Jacksonville is number 29. And it looked like early that Vegas was going to win this game. They had a 20-7 lead, but then Jacksonville stormed back and won this game 27-20. All right, 56 offensive plays for the Raiders, 37 passes and 19 runs. 68 total plays for the Jaguars, 31 passes, 37 runs. Jacksonville outgained Vegas 403 to 321. Passing yards, a slight advantage to the Raiders, 248-235. Rush yards were 168 for Jacksonville, 73 for Vegas. First downs also favored the Jags, 22-16. Jacksonville now has 203 first downs through 9 games. Vegas has 159 through 8. The Raiders were a paltry 3 of 12 for 25%. And for the year, 36 of 95 for 37.9%. And 1 for 3 on 4th down, which has been one of their strengths this year, 33.3%. They're now 9 of 14 on the year for 64.3%. As for the Jaguars, they were an impressive 9 of 15 on 3rd down for 60%. Now 49 of 112 on the year for 43.8%. No 4th down plays. They remain at 7 of 17, 41.2%. Vegas had 5 penalties for 45 yards. They now have 46 for 382. I'm reading the wrong team. They have 50 penalties for 415. My mistake. Jacksonville had 4 penalties for 30 yards. They now have 54 total for 414. Time of possession is in favor of Jacksonville, 32 minutes and 25 seconds to 27 minutes and 35 seconds for the Raiders. Raiders defense finished with 49 tackles, 19 solo, 351 total, and 148 solo through 8 games. No sacks in the game. That's 9 still. No fumbles forced either. They're still at 3. 2 passes defended for the Vegas defense. That's 23 on the year. No interceptions or touchdowns, so they stay at 3 and 2 in those categories. The Jaguars, 38 tackles, 19 solo. 379 total tackles, 153 solo. They sacked Derek Carr twice, so that brings them to 16 sacks on the season. One fumble forced in this game, that's their fifth. 6 passes defended, gives Jacksonville a league-leading 59 through 9 games. No interceptions or touchdowns. They stay at 8 INTs and 1 TD. Closing line was Vegas minus 2.5. Over-under was 48. I picked Vegas to win this game and to cover the spread. Jacksonville obviously won by 7, so I lost both picks. So this makes me 4-2, both straight up and against the spread. Now to the Chargers at the Falcons. Okay. The Chargers ranked number 14 in my Week 9 power rankings. The Falcons number 18. A rookie kicker ends up being the hero for the LA Chargers, as his last second field goal staked LA to a 20-17 win in the ATL. The Chargers ran 58 plays, 23 passes, 35 runs. Falcons 67 plays, 43 passes, 24 runs. Total yards favored Atlanta, 336 to 315. Passing yards also favored Atlanta, 245 to 114. But it was Los Angeles who had the ground. Oh, I'm reading the defensive numbers. So those numbers are reversed. The Chargers outgained the Falcons 336 to 315. They outgained the Falcons passing 245 to 114. And it was Atlanta who had the edge rushing, 201 yards on the ground for the Falcons, 91 for the Chargers. Both teams in this game had 19 first downs. So now the Falcons have 176 through 9 games. The Chargers 167 through 8. LA was 8 of 16 on third down for 50%. Now 51 of 122 on the year, 41.8%. 1 for 1 on fourth down, and on the season, 8 of 18 for 44.4%. Atlanta finished 5 of 11 on third down, 45.5%. And at 45% for the season, 45 of 100. No fourth down plays again for the Falcon offense. They stayed 2 of 3 for 66.7%. 5 penalties in this game for the Chargers, 45 yards down, 46 for 382. 2 penalties for the Falcons for 15 yards, gives them 39 for 310. Sorry about that. Time of possession favors the Falcons at 31 minutes and 49 seconds, 28 minutes, 11 seconds for the Chargers. On defense, the Chargers had 41 tackles, 18 solo. And on the year, 337 and 183. They sacked Marcus Mariota twice. That's numbers 18 and 19. One fumble force. There we go. That's their 6th of the year. 1 pass defense. That's their 29th this year. And no interceptions. So they remain at 7 with no touchdowns. 42 tackles by the Falcons. None of them solo. 388 total. 135 solo through 9 games. 0 sacks on the season. And they now sit at 11 sacks, or they still sit with 11 sacks, the fewest of any team in the NFL. 1 forced fumble in the game. That's their 5th of the year, and 4 passes defensed. That's 42. They added another interception. That's number 8 with 1 defensive touchdown. Closing line was LA minus 2.5, and the over-under was 49. I did take the Falcons to win and to cover, and I lost both picks. So now I am 4-3, both straight up and against the spread. If you're joining me late, welcome to the week that was, as I'm running down the team statistical numbers from week 9 in the NFL. Coming up, an updated look at the NFL standings and my week 10 power rankings. So stick around, folks. Okay. Up next, we got probably the offensive shootout of the day. With the Miami Dolphins visiting the Chicago Bears. The Dolphins were ranked number 9. Sorry, cat slept running. The Dolphins were ranked number 9 in my week 9 power rankings. The Bears number 31. And boy, this was a tug of war on the shores of Lake Michigan. The Dolphins walked out of Soldier Field with a 35-32 win. Miami ran 53 offensive plays, 30 passes, 23 runs. The Bears ran 68 plays, 28 passes, and 40 runs. All right. Total yards were 379 for Miami, 368 for Chicago. Passing yards 302 to 116 for Miami. Rush yards go to the Chicago Bears. They had 252 at 6.3 yards per rush attempt. Miami had 77 yards at about 3.3 or 3.4 yards per rush attempt. First downs were 23 for the Bears, 21 for the Dolphins. Through 9 games, Chicago has 162 first downs. The Dolphins have 187. Miami finished 5 of 10 on third down for 50% on the year, 43 for 104 for 41.3%, and 0 for 2 on fourth down. And now on the season, 5 of 12, 41.7%. The Bears were very good on third down. How about 10 of 16 for 62.5%? And on the year now, 58 of 124, 46.8%. And 1 for 2 on fourth down, 50%. On the year, 6 of 14, 42.9%. The Dolphins had just 3 penalties on the day for 38 yards, 58 total for 454. 4 penalties for Chicago for 92 yards, and 45 total for 425. And the Bears came close to ball hawk territory as they possessed the ball for 34 minutes and 46 seconds versus 25 minutes and 14 seconds for Miami. The Dolphins defense records 50 tackles, 29 solo. They now have 386 tackles, 175 solo. They sacked Justin Fields twice, bringing their sack total to 17. No fumbles in this game for the Dolphins defense. 5 total. 1 pass defense, 34 on the year. No interceptions or touchdowns. They stay at 4 INTs. The Bears had 37 tackles, 30 solo. 378 total tackles, 178 solo. 0 sacks in the game for the Chicago defense. They stay at 13. Sorry. No fumbles for the Bears defense either. That's 8 still. 2 passes defended brings them to 31. No interceptions or touchdowns keeps them at 9 INTs. Closing line was Miami minus 3.5, and the over-under was 46. I took the Dolphins to win straight up, and I took the Bears to cover. So now I am 5-2, I think, in my picks. Yeah, I'm 5-2 in my picks now. 5-3. Yeah, I'm 5-3 straight up and against the spread. Next, the Minnesota Vikings at the Washington Commanders. And in my Week 9 power rankings, Minnesota was number 5. Washington was number 22. The Vikings got a field goal late to beat the Commanders in D.C. 20-17. The Vikings ran 63 offensive plays, 41 passes, 22 runs. 58 offensive plays for the Commanders, 28 passes, 30 runs. Total yards were 301 for Minnesota, 263 for Washington. Passing yards advantage goes to Minnesota, 245 to 126. Rushing yards advantage goes to Washington, 137 to 56. 18 first downs for the Commanders, 17 for the Vikings. And they're very close to each other in total first downs. 175 in 9 games for Washington, 174 in 8 games for Minnesota, who, by the way, now have a 7-1 record and are 6-0 in one-run games or one-score games. The Vikings finished 7-16 on third down, 43.8%. On the year, 44 for 104, 42.3%. No fourth down plays. So they stay at 5 of 10. The Commanders, 3 of 10 on third down, 30%. Now 40 of 117 for 34.2. 0 for 1 on fourth down brings them to 4 of 11 on the season and 36.4%. 5 penalties for Minnesota for 42 yards, 41 total for 313. 3 penalties for the Washington Commanders at 26 yards, 52 total penalties for 503. Time of possession favors the Commanders, 30 minutes and 47 seconds versus 29-13 for Minnesota. All right. As for the defenses, Minnesota had 43 tackles, 18 solo. They now have 340 total tackles, 207 solo. 3 sacks on the afternoon on Taylor Heineke. Gives them 24 on the season. No fumbles forced. They remain at 6. 7 passes defensed. They're up to 43. 1 more interception added. They're up to 8 on the year. And for the Commanders, 43 tackles, 21 solo. And on the season, 352 and 159. 2 sacks in the afternoon on Kirk Cousins, the ex-Commander. They now have 22 sacks on the season. No fumbles forced for them either. They stay at 3. They too had 7 passes defended. They're up to 39. And they too added an interception. That's their 3rd of the year. Closing line is Minnesota -3. The over-under is 43. I took the Vikings to win and to cover. And since this is a push, I will count that as a tie. So straight up, I am 6-3. Three and 1, 3 and 2. And I'm 4-5-1 ATS. 6-3 straight up. 6-3 straight up. Make that 4-4-1 ATS. Okay, we made it to the Sunday afternoon portion of the schedule. We'll start off with the Seattle Seahawks beating the Arizona Cardinals 31-21. The Seahawks were ranked number 16 in my Week 9 power rankings. The Cardinals were 23. All right. 68 offensive plays for the Seahawks. 34 passes and 34 runs. So balanced both ways. Plays evenly distributed. 56 plays for Arizona. 35 passes and 21 runs. Total yards were 421 to 262 for Seattle. Passing yards 263 to 140 to Seattle. And rush yards 158 to 122 also to Seattle. Same thing with the first downs. 27 for the Seahawks, only 15 for the Cardinals. On the year, 188 first downs for the Cards, 187 for the Seahawks. Seattle finished an impressive 10 of 15 on third down, 66.7%. 49 of 107 on the year, 45.8. And 0 for 1 on fourth down, puts them 4 of 9 on the season. Arizona was 6 of 14 on third down for 42.9%. And 0 for 2 on fourth down. And on the year now, 13 of 26 for 50%. 6 penalties for the Seahawks for just 34 yards. They now have 66 total flags for 562. And then you have the Arizona Cardinals hit hard with the laundry. 12 flags for Cliff Kingsbury's squad for 77 yards. They now have 64 flags for 512 yards. Time of possession is 34 minutes, 31 seconds for Seattle, 25 minutes, and 29 seconds for Arizona. So the Seahawks nearly got into ball hawk range themselves. The Seahawks defense records 51 tackles, 39 solo. They now have 444 tackles, 243 solo. They sacked Kyler Murray 4 times. They're now up to 26. One more fumble forced by this defense gives them an NFL-leading 15 fumbles. 4 passes defensed in this game gives them 39. 0 interceptions nor touchdowns keeps them at 5-1 in those categories. The Cardinals defense, 52 tackles, 27 solo. They now have 397 total tackles, 196 solo. They would sack Geno Smith twice, 15 and 16 on the season. No fumbles in this game. They remain at 9 among the league leaders in the NFL. And they too have 4 passes defensed in this game. That's 40 on the season. And another pick 6 for this Cardinal defense. This gives them 6 interceptions and 5 defensive touchdowns, and their 4th pick 6 of 2022. Closing line was Arizona -2. Over-under was 49. I picked the Seahawks to win and to cover, and they did so, beating the Cardinals by 10. So now I'm 7-3 straight up and 5-4-1 against the spread. Next up, the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams meeting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the first time since last season's NFC divisional playoff, which was won by LA, who came in number 11 in my Week 9 power rankings, Tampa Bay number 17. And it took yet another Tom Brady comeback for the Bucs to win this one. 16-13 ended up being the final score, as Tom Brady recorded his 55th come from behind victory in the fourth quarter or overtime, surpassing Peyton Manning for the most in NFL history. All right, 51 offensive plays for the Rams, 27 passes, 24 runs. 78 total plays for the Buccaneers, 58 passes, and 20 runs. Total yards, 323 for the Bucs, 206 for LA. Passing yards, 272 Buccaneers, 138 Rams. And rush yards, not a lot of them on either side. 68 for LA, 51 for Tampa. The Buccaneers had double the first downs as the defending champs, 18-9. LA now has 140 through 8 games. Tampa 178 through 9. The Rams finished 4 of 15 on third down, 26.7%. Now 44 of 103 for 42.7. No fourth down plays by Sean McVay's team, so they stay 5 of 7 on fourth down on the season at 71.4%. The Bucs, however, went 9 of 21 on third down, 42.9%. On the season, they're now 46 of 128 for 35.9% and 0 for 2 on fourth down. 5 of 11 on the season. 4 penalties for Los Angeles for 53 yards. They now have 32 for 308. Tampa was hit with 7 flags for 55 yards and 51 total on the year for 413. Tampa Bay wins the time of possession battle in this one. 31 minutes, 16 seconds versus LA's 28 minutes and 44 seconds. The Ram defense recorded 52 tackles, 23 solo. And on the year, 327 tackles, 129 solo. 1 sack on Tom Brady. That's their 16th of the season. No fumbles forced. They stay at 7. 7 passes defensed. They were up to 30. With no interceptions or touchdowns, they remain at 5 INTs. The Tampa Bay defense, 37 tackles, 23 solo. Now 384 tackles and 180 solo. 4 sacks on the afternoon on Matthew Stafford. That puts them at 29. No fumbles for the Buck defense, so that's 8. 2 passes defended brings them to 28. And they stay at 6 interceptions and 1 touchdown after recording none in week 9. Closing line was Tampa Bay -3 and the over-under was 43. I picked LA to win and cover. Tampa Bay won straight up and pushed the total. So I will count that as a loss against the spread. That makes me 5-5-1 against the spread. And overall 7-4 in my picks. Now it's a Sunday night football. And a pair of 5-win division leaders having at it as the Tennessee Titans visited the Kansas City Chiefs. The Titans came in at number 10 in my week 9 power rankings. The Chiefs were number 3. And the Chiefs, who kind of sleepwalked in this game for about 3 quarters, ends up winning this game in overtime by the final score of 20-17. Tennessee ran 45 offensive plays, 16 passes, and 29 runs. Kansas City, meanwhile, ran 87 plays with 68 passes and only 19 runs. Total yards were 499 for Kansas City, 229 for Tennessee. Passing yards, Chiefs 422, Titans 57. Rush yards, Titans 172, Chiefs 77. Kansas City had triple the third downs of the Titans. 29 for Kansas City and 9 for Tennessee. And on the year, an even 200 first downs for the Chiefs through 8 games to 125 for the Titans. Tennessee was putrid on third down, 1 for 11 for 9.1%. On the year, 31-94 for 33%. And 0 for 1 on fourth down, 3 of 5 on the season. Kansas City, 8 of 19 on third down, 42.1%. And they are 49 of 98 for the year at 50%. And a perfect 2 for 2 on fourth down puts them 5 of 7 at 71.4%. And this game had the most penalties, 18 in total. 8 penalties for Tennessee for 51 yards. They now have 53 for 432. 10 penalties for the Chiefs for 69 yards. Gives them 47 for 439. Time of possession is 41 minutes and 28 seconds for the Chiefs. 26 minutes, 23 seconds for the Titans, putting Kansas City in ball hawk territory. On defense, the Tennessee Titans records 58 tackles, 24 solo. They're now the 370 tackles, 187 solo. They sacked Patrick Mahomes 4 times. That gives them 23 23 sacks. I know what I'm trying to say. Sorry about that, guys. No fumbles forced. That's 7 still on the season. 4 defended passes brings them to 32. 1 interception gives them 8 with 1 defensive touchdown. The Kansas City Chiefs defense, 28 tackles, none solo. So they were at 338 and 147 respectively. 3 sacks on the afternoon, 3 sacks on the night on Tennessee backup Malik Willis, making his 2nd consecutive start for the injured Ryan Tannehill. This gives the Chiefs 22 sacks through 8 games. No fumbles forced. They stay at 7. 4 passes defended brings them to 36. No interception. They add an interception. That's their 3rd of the season with 1 touchdown. Closing line was KC minus 14. Over under was 45. I picked the Chiefs to win and the Titans to cover. So this makes me now 8-4 straight up. And 6-5-1 against the spread. The final game on the schedule was the Baltimore Ravens going into the Superdome and beating the Saints 27-13. Baltimore ranked number 8 in my Week 9 power rankings. New Orleans was number 24. All right. The Ravens ran 62 offensive plays, 22 passes, 40 runs. Saints ran 45 offensive plays, 30 passes, 15 runs. Total yards, 319 for the Ravens, 243 for the Saints. 195 pass yards for New Orleans versus 131 for Baltimore. And rush yards favored the Ravens, 188-48. First downs also favored the Ravens, 23-13. Baltimore now has 188 through 9 games, while the Saints have 182. The Ravens finished 9 of 15 on third down, 60%, no fourth down plays. For the season, Baltimore is 50 of 111 on third down for 45%, 4 of 9 on fourth down for 44.4%. The Saints were 3 of 11 on third down, 27.3%, and 49 of 116 on the season, 47.2%. 1 for 1 on fourth down, and on the season, 3 out of 6 for 50%. Both teams had 5 penalties, 31 yards on the 5 penalties for the Ravens, gives them 48 for 424. 40 yards on 5 penalties for New Orleans, gives them 62 for 326. Time of possession favors Baltimore, 37 minutes, 47 seconds to 22-13 for the Saints. The Ravens end up in ball hawk territory. Ball Hawks of the week goes to the Kansas City Chiefs for their 41-minute time of possession in their overtime win against the Tennessee Titans. On defense, the Ravens had 36 tackles, 23 solo, 378 total tackles, 217 solo, 4 sacks on the evening on Andy Dalton, gives them 27. No fumbles in the game. They stay at 9. 6 passes defensed brings them to 45. And 1 interception added. That's their 9th of the season. And for the Saints, 47 tackles, 31 solo, 367 total yards, and 175 solo. 3 sacks on Lamar Jackson gives them 23. No forced fumbles. That's 7 on the season. 1 pass defensed points them the 129 or 29 total sacks, or 29 passes defended, I should say. And no interceptions or touchdowns. The Saints remain with 2 INTs. First I got to tell you the Ravens were favored by 1.5 points at close, and the over/under was 46.5. I took the Ravens in both straight up and against the spread. So for the week, I finished 9-4 straight up. And 7-5-1 against the spread. So that's a recap of the 13 games. Now let's take a look at the updated NFL standings through 9 weeks of play. We're already halfway through the season, folks, if you can believe that. All right, the Baltimore Ravens continue to lead the AFC North at 6-3. They've won 3 games in a row. The Cincinnati Bengals are in second place at 5-4, followed by the Cleveland Browns at 3-5 and the Pittsburgh Steelers at 2-6. And it's getting very, very tight in the AFC East, as 1.5 games separate the top from the bottom in this division. The Buffalo Bills, despite their loss on Sunday, still lead the division at 6-2. Both the New York Jets and Miami Dolphins are nipping at Buffalo's heels at 6-3. And don't sleep on the Patriots. New England is 5-4 and still pretty much has a dog in this AFC East fight. In the AFC South, it's the Tennessee Titans at 5-3, the Indianapolis Colts at 3-5-1. Losers of 3 straight. Oh, by the way, they did fire head coach Frank Reich yesterday and replaced him with former Colts guard, current Pro Football Hall of Famer, and former ESPN analyst Jeff Saturday as the interim coach. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 3-6, and the Houston Texans, also in a 3-game losing streak, sit at 1-6-1. In the AFC West, it's the Kansas City Chiefs at 6-2, the LA Chargers at 5-3, the Denver Broncos at 3-5, and the Las Vegas Raiders at 2-6. Now to the NFC, where the Minnesota Vikings own the league's second best record at 7-1. And they have a very comfortable lead in this division, as both the Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears sit at 3-6, and the Detroit Lions are at 2-6. As for streaks, Minnesota has won 6 straight, while Green Bay has dropped 5 straight. The Philadelphia Eagles now 2 games up in the NFC East at 8-0, ahead of both the Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants at 6-2, who did not play this week. And the Washington Commanders fall back under 500 with a 4-5 record. Then you got the NFC South. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Atlanta Falcons at 4-5. The division tiebreak would go to Tampa. The New Orleans Saints are in third place at 3-6, and the Carolina Panthers are 2-7. And out in the NFC West, it's the Seattle Seahawks at 6-3, flying high, with the San Francisco 49ers in second place at 4-4. The Rams at 3-5, and the Arizona Cardinals at 3-6. And Seattle is in a 4-game winning streak. All right, it's almost time to close this one down, but before we do, here's my Week 10 power rankings, starting from the bottom and working our way up to number 1. And the bottom 3 teams are unchanged, as the Houston Texans stay at number 32, the Chicago Bears at 31, and the Carolina Panthers at 30. At number 29 is the New Orleans Saints, down from 24. Number 28 and staying in the same spot, the Pittsburgh Steelers. 27 is the Jacksonville Jaguars, up from 29. 26 is the Detroit Lions, up from 27. 25 is the Arizona Cardinals, down from 23. 24 is the Cleveland Browns, up from 26. 23 is the Indianapolis Colts, down from 20. Number 22 is the Denver Broncos, up from 25. 21 is the Washington Commanders, up from 22. Number 20 is the Las Vegas Raiders, up from 21. Number 19 in the same spot as last week is the Green Bay Packers. Number 18 in the same spot as last week is the Atlanta Falcons. Number 17 and in the same spot as last week are the LA Rams, or rather the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The LA Rams are a spot ahead of them at 16. They're down from 11. Number 15 is the Seattle Seahawks, up from 16. 14, same spot as last week, the LA Chargers. 13 is the Tennessee Titans, down from 10. Number 12 is the Cincinnati Bengals, up from 15. Number 11 is the New York Jets, up from 13. Number 10 is the New England Patriots, up from 12. Number 9 in the same spot as last week, the Miami Dolphins. Number 8 in the same spot as last week, the Baltimore Ravens. Number 7 in the same spot as last week, the New York Giants. Number 6, also in the same spot as last week, are the San Francisco 49ers. Number 5, down from 4, are the Dallas Cowboys. They pretty much trade spots with the Minnesota Vikings, who go up from 5 to number 4. Number 3 is the Buffalo Bills, down from 1. Number 2 is the Kansas City Chiefs, up from 3. And the new number 1 in my power rankings going into Week 10, the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles, up from number 2. And that is it, folks. The week that was in Week 9 of the National Football League. Okay, we'll be back later tonight with a look at the National College Football Rankings, including the College Football Playoff standings, which we'll be taking a look at. The standings will be released at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'll probably be on after that. Probably about 8 or probably about 6 or 7 o'clock Mountain Time. And then we'll outline, or rather, we'll take a look at the Week 11 college football schedule and the broadcast teams for each game. That's also coming later tonight. Then Thursday, I'll get set for and then on Wednesday, I'll get set for my picks for Thursday's video. So that too is dropping soon. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. Get notified every time I go live. This is Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and happy pigskin. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. I know my outro. Peace out, guys.